Of course, he announced that he was retiring, and that created the problem of who the new Chief Justice would be. And there's a great deal of speculation about it. And one day Felix said to me, the president is going to nominate Stone to be the Chief Justice. And Stone thinks that the Chief Justice ought to have 2 law clerks, not 1, and that the senior one ought to be somebody who's been around the court and who knows how the court works. And I believe Stone was then, as an associate justice, he always worked up at his house, never around the court. So I'd never met Stone. Felix said, I think you'll be getting a call to come up and see him. In about a day or two, of course, I did get such a call, and I went up to his house at 24th and Wyoming and met him, and we introduced ourselves and had a little pleasantry. And then he said to me, he said, I think that the new Chief Justice, whoever he might be, ought to have 2 law clerks. And that the senior one ought to be somebody who knows how the court works. And I wonder whether you'd be willing to stay on to take that position. And I said, well, Justice Stone, I've already taken a job with Oscar Cox at the Lend-Lease Administration, I said, but I think that I could honorably get out of that. But I said, how do I know? I was a mean fellow. I said, how do I know that the new Chief Justice, whoever he might be, would want me to be his senior law clerk? Stone said, I think I can give you assurances on that point. I said, under those circumstances, I'd be glad to stay. So that's how I became the non-Columbia Stone law clerk. He had already hired a very nice guy named Roger Nelson as his, what he had thought was going to be his law clerk as associate justice.
How much in advance of the public announcement was this hiring conversation?
Might have been a week or 2.
Okay.
Do you get a sense when the first year Jackson's on the court, and this would be your first year with Stone, as to how the conferences would work and how you in turn would get information as to how the cases were coming out? Did Stone immediately come back and talk to you as...
Well, I'll tell you what happened, and I may cover this tomorrow a little bit. After the conference, Stone would call me in, and he'd go over what happened, and he would discuss with me the assignments. Now, I don't know whether any other Chief Justice ever did that with anybody, but we would go over it, and I wouldn't interpose too many thoughts on the subject, but occasionally I had one, and I expressed it, and occasionally he thought it was a good idea. So that, I knew immediately after the conference what the votes had been, and which cases were up to Stone to assign, and where he had been in dissent. So it wouldn't be for him to assign.
How quickly would he assign?
He would try to get it out that night.
Okay.
Now, it didn't always work. Maybe it would get out the next day, but it was treated as a matter of high priority.
Right. And what were the factors? Was it backlog? Was it...
Oh, there are tremendous factors. Leaving out the Barnett case, because I'll talk about that tomorrow.
Okay.
There are all kinds of factors. One, which is relevant to Barnett, is being sure you hold your majority together. Not making an assignment to somebody who's going to write an outlandish opinion that'll deflect some of the majority. Another has to do with expertise on the court. Some things are easy for some people and hard for others. Another has to do with backlog.
Were conferences held on Saturdays?
Yes, they were still doing it on Saturdays and later shifted to Friday, as I recall.
So the assignments would not have been done during the conference?
Oh, no, after.
Afterwards?
By memorandum.
There's a little a pad of assignment sheets. And had each justice's name on it, and he would ink in the number of the case assigned.
Okay. And sometimes you would persuade Stone that one assignment might be a better idea than
Well,
another.
persuade is the wrong word. We would discuss.
Discuss.
I'll give you one example that doesn't come up very often. There was one case, a criminal case, that had been assigned to Felix to write the opinion and for the court, and nothing happened. The opinion didn't come around, and criminal cases, when possible, are supposed to get a priority, and weeks went by and nothing more happened. And I inquired of Felix's law clerk what the hell was going on. Nothing was going on. Other things kept getting in the way. And I said to Stone, I have a suggestion to you as to how you handle this. And he said, what's that? And I said, don't assign any new opinion to Felix. And I'll tell his law clerk why. That produced the opinion.
Maybe a setup for tomorrow. The Gabaitis case had already been decided prior to,
Before my time.
before your time. When you become one of the law clerks for Chief Justice Stone, was that a conversation prior to, was it Jones v. was it Opelika?
City of Opelika.
No, we had all of those Jehovah's Witness cases.
Right.
And happily, Stone and I were in total agreement on how they should come out. Again, this goes to the point I made earlier, that Stone and I had a remarkably harmonious relationship. And it was just accidental. There was one case in the 2 years, one important case, where we disagreed. And I tried to convince him I couldn't. It was Betts against Brady. And I did a lot of work on that case. I collected statutes and opinions from a lot of states about how they were treating the right to counsel in cases of impecunious defendants. And I tried my best to convince Stone he ought to change his mind. He didn't. And then I said to him, Black is writing the opinion on the other side of this case. Do you have any objection if I give his law clerk all the stuff I've collected? Stone said, go ahead and do it. So I did. And if you look in Black's opinion, you'll find the stuff I had collected.
So it was much too late for Stone, of course, but for you, Gideon was your day.
Well, I thought sooner or later they'd have to come around to that.
That's very nice.
Did Stone ever permit you to author an opinion?
You mean write one from scratch?
Right.
No. If you mean, did I write isolated sentences, or
Sure.
maybe even half a paragraph in an opinion here or there? Sure.
Yeah.
But that's different.
Okay.
No, Stone was quite able to do his own drafts. They needed some help because he wrote sentences that were a little too dramatic. They were very long. They needed some punctuation, shortening, and he liked his law clerks to do that for him.
Right.
He was not unaware of this, but he was not gun shy about writing.
Did you sense any impact from a personal side between Frankfurter and Stone as a result of this sort of decision?
No. I can't remember at the time, and things didn't begin to go downhill in Stone's chief justiceship till later, after my time, when there was more wrangling, and the conferences got longer and longer.
Can you date that?
No, I just know it was after my time.